now I'll be presenting the Paramecium caudatum. Okay, so this is the kingdom period of Paramecium caudatum. Paramecium caudatum belongs in the kingdom Protista. Since it belongs in the kingdom Protista, it has a peptidoglycan cell wall, cell membrane, and a nucleus. While it does not have it's not a mouth eater or a multicellular organism, but separates Animalia from Protista. This is the phylum tree of the Paramecium caudatum. It belongs in the alveolate phylum. So the alveolate phylum. So everyone in the alveolate phylum has a pellicle. All the relatives have a pellicle. But what separates the Paramecium caudatum from the rest of the relatives is that it has a contractile vacuole. And yeah, that is the phylum tree. Okay, now I'll talk about the adaptation. So the first adaptation is the contractile vacuole. And so each paramecium has 2 to 3 contractile vacuoles, and the contractile vacuoles basically helps in osmoregulation. So if there's an excess of water in the paramecium, the contractile vacuole will pump out the water, maintaining homeostasis and equilibrium between the outside of the solution and the inside of the solution. And it also helps the paramecium maintain the same molar concentration as the outside, so it'll pump out the water accordingly. And this is key because since the paramecium has a contractile vacuole, it can live in almost any aquatic environment because the contractile vacuole helps it stay in homeostasis. Okay, next adaptation is the dual reproduction. So this basically means that the paramecium has 2 ways it can reproduce: asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. So the paramecium usually reproduces asexually, but when the surroundings are unsuitable for asexual reproduction, it will produce sexually by a process known as conjugation. So the paramecium will produce sexually by conjugation, and this will increase genetic variation and drive evolution. So yeah, this is a key adaptation because the paramecium can almost always produce, since it has 2 ways it can reproduce. So yeah, there's nothing that can hinder, the reproduction of paramecium. And another key adaptation is the cilia. The cilia is a hair-like structure. The cilia is a hair-like structure, and it has 2 key functions. The first function is to help the paramecium movement, and the second function is eating. So the first function is movement. So the cilia covers the whole body of the paramecium on the outside, and the paramecium beats the cilia back and forth like a tail to propel it and make it go forward or backward. And then the second function of the cilia is while it's moving forward and backward, and the cilia traps food inside the mouth of the paramecium, which is also known as oral groove. The last key adaptation is that the paramecium has 2 complete copies of its genome. So this is very important because since it has 2 complete copies of its genome, there's really high chances for beneficial mutation while it reproduces, and this will drive evolution. This is a big driving factor for evolution, mutation. And this is the food web of a typical paramecium ecosystem. So the paramecium eats bacteria, photosynthetic bacteria and algae, and it gets eaten by the zooplankton and the insect larvae. And the paramecium is a primary consumer in the food chain. And how does it eat? So the paramecium eats with the cilia, as I said earlier. The cilia, while it's moving, the cilia traps food, or like sweeps up food particles, and places them inside the mouth of the paramecium, which is also known as the oral groove. And paramecium eats bacteria, algae, that and living bacterial and animal matter. And global distribution. Okay, so the paramecium lives in almost any aquatic environment. It usually prefers warm environments like ponds, lakes, and puddles. And that's it for global distribution. And the fossil record. Okay, so the fossil record of the paramecium caudatum. The earliest known fossil record of the paramecium caudatum was found 65 million years ago in the Cretaceous period. Okay, it was found on the seafloor in a piece of amber, and that was the earliest known date for the fossil record. And that is the end of the presentation.